Well, Betty, now I think we need to move on a little bit. We need to talk about your early career and your marriage. And what I'm really interested in is, how did you pursue your ministry in the early days of your marriage?
Well, I became a teacher by trade, so that was a natural thing to continue in with that. We attended the local church and did a lot of extra things there, Tom in choirs and me with Sunday schools, which were big in those days. And sermons like one on tithing, where we went home and were sitting in the car in front of our little house with its piles of dirt around the foundation, and Tom saying, "Well, I guess that's it, we'll tithe." I thought, well, I guess we're going to tithe. And that's all that was sort of said about that, but I would like to encourage anybody, because if you give away the first tenth, you'll never ever regret it.
Never miss
and
it.
you do it from there in. So shortly after that, Tom being at Wycliffe, he, after 2 years, was sent to Minden, and he continued his studies and commuted with some other young guys from up there. So we enjoyed that work very much, and he, first of all, of course, wanted to have Bible studies. So a little group of people came to the church in Minden, and they were really interesting people for me. Molly would never miss. So I said, "Molly, you never miss. How come?" She said, "I'm cramming for my finals." And I always thought that was a good way to put it.
Yeah.
One of the other members of that group knew by heart all the little prayers that went before the Bible readings in the old prayer book. And that impressed me. And she said, "Yes, we say these at our mealtime." So you learn from other Christians too, how they remained faithful over the years. And another man who met somebody one day who dared to say to them, "And Walter, how did you become a Christian? Did anybody?" "Oh," he said, "no, I'm an Anglican. They don't ask me." So I thought, he's honest.
That's a
Right to the
richly
point.
varied group, I think.
On the other hand, his wife got her life changed when she had to drape the cross in black when she was doing her altar guild duties. And that impressed me very much too.
Well, this kind of moved on. So far we've been talking about what goes on in the community of the faithful, but eventually we carry this out. And I know that you and Tom were approached to be sponsors for the local high school InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I really enjoyed that work. The young people were very keen. They came to the rectory from the school bus, and I had them for many years. We skated on the local lakes and had a wonderful guy, Bernie Smith from InterVarsity, came up and did singing. The room was so jammed in this person's basement we couldn't have squeezed in anybody else. And so that was fun. But they were inspiring to me, and to be able to give them a place to meet and do their Bible studies and things was a great joy to do. It's a great program.
There was not only the reaching out, but there was reaching out in a way that it came back in. That is to say, Tom, I know, would appear from time to time with somebody from Wycliffe for a weekend or for a holiday. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Some fascinating people. First one, perhaps the most fascinating, because he'd become a family member. He took an eye on my sister, and has been a wonderful man. And he is a very light-colored Jamaican, and a real prince of a man.
That would be John.
John, John Mullings. And then we had a man from Ghana, and Emmanuel was a very tall, handsome guy, and Tom took him up to show him ice fishing, and as he walked out there, he said, "Now, there's fish, but where's the lake?" And Tom said, "You're on it." And then he looked with horror that he was walking on water. But it's just these fun things that you do. Mom threw a snowball at him and it went right smack. She couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but she managed to hit him right in the middle of the back of the neck. And he experienced that too. She was horrified.
Really cold.
And another time we had, in the next parish, we had a man named Erasmus Bitterbejo. And Erasmus was just one of those people. It seemed to me every time I looked out the window, there were a bunch of kids following him. And one day, our little one, who was 3, said to him, "Are you chocolate?" And I thought, oh, horrors. Not a good question, honey. But anyway, I didn't say anything, and after a little silence, he said, "Why don't you taste me and see?" So he held out his arm and bared his arm up to the elbow. So she came over, and I thought, what's she going to do? But she licked him.
Oh.
And that didn't work. So the next thing, he said, "Try it again." So this time she sort of nibbled a little wee bit. "No, you're not chocolate."
This man was from Uganda, is that right?
Uganda.
Yeah.
He was from Uganda, wonderful fellow, and came to the house quite often. And also to the whole deanery. They hadn't seen colored people. It was relatively new.
In the 1950s.
Yes,
And we're still relatively
new.
odd. There is one other person that we could perhaps talk about, and that's Sylvia, your friend Sylvia.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Sylvia.
Sylvia was a wild teenager in that town, and well, I called her wild because they went zipping up and down the main street, only one main street, and yelling and singing and having a wonderful time in the middle of the day, up and down. And I didn't see Sylvia again for many years, but in our next parish, there she came along as a young married woman. Actually, she phoned and said, "Hi, you remember me, and I'm trying to find God." And I thought, wow, that's really, we don't get too much of that. Anyway, she said, "Can you help me?" I said, "Well, I hope so, and I'm sure so." So she came along, and I don't know what we said. It seems so simple. I think it's sometimes like fruit. It's just right to fall into your hand. So Sylvia became a Christian, I guess, in a way she really felt that she was a Christian. God visited her, and then she said, "Well, now what do I do?" And I said, "Well, we have a little Bible study here at the rectory after Wednesday communion. You want to come?" "Oh, sure." So she came to that about 3 times. Then she said, "This is good. It ought to happen in our church," which was Roman Catholic. And I thought, well, I'm not too sure she might get going on that. But anyway, within a couple of weeks, she had a Bible study going in the Roman Catholic Church. Yes.
So all it took in that case was just
yes.
a little push.
Yes. And then when I came back to Bowmanville, the next time, years later, I went to go to the World Day of Prayer. And the speaker was Sylvia Lisk. And Sylvia had by then done 2 degrees. And the second one was theology, and that's what she was the head of the World Women's Day of Prayer.
So she really blossomed. She really
yes.
blossomed.
So that was quite a thrill.
Thank you for that, Betty.